Hello. My name is Arya, and I'm fighting for my life. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is that the very people I thought I could trust, my own family, tried to take it all away. Poisoned me. Tried to erase me from the world like I never mattered. I should have seen it coming. But I didn't. And now, I'm about to make them see who I really am. The machines beeped around me like a chorus of dying stars, each pulse a reminder that I was hanging on by a thread. I couldn't tell if I was awake or dreaming. Time felt like it was bleeding in and out of focus. Every breath was shallow, a battle to inhale, and my chest felt heavy as if gravity itself had decided to make a point of reminding me that I was small, fragile, and, apparently, invisible. I hadn't seen my mother in hours. The pain medication kept me hazy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The last time I remembered seeing her, she had barely looked me in the eye, too busy with her phone call to care about her daughter lying here, fighting for life. Then, just as the silence grew too thick, my phone buzzed on the table beside me. "Mom." I croaked, barely able to hear myself over the hum of the machines. Her voice crackled on the other end, distant, perfunctory. "Arya, darling, don't forget your sister's birthday gift tomorrow. I need you to pick it up." I blinked in confusion, my chest tightening. The words didn't quite fit together, birthday gift, and tomorrow, while I was lying here in a hospital bed, surrounded by sterile white walls. I could barely breathe, let alone think about gifts. "Hi, Mom," I struggled, my throat dry. "I'm in the ICU." A brief pause. Her tone didn't shift. "I know, honey, but it's important. Don't forget." She was saying this like it was the most normal thing in the world, as if I wasn't hooked up to tubes, as if I wasn't fighting for air. The absurdity stung me harder than the pain in my chest. The phone slipped from my hand as I tried to process her words. It landed with a soft thud on the bed. I felt cold. I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred, and all I could hear was the relentless beeping of the machines around me, measuring a life that seemed so fragile, so utterly alone. I hadn't been forgotten. I had been erased. The thought came to me unbidden, a shard of clarity cutting through the fog. For years, I had bent myself in all the right ways for them, for my family, always striving for their approval. But this moment, this cold, indifferent moment, showed me the truth. I didn't matter to them. Not the way they mattered to me. I closed my eyes, and for the first time, I realized that I had never mattered to them. But something was changing inside me. I wasn't going to be that person anymore. The one who existed only in the background, the one who fixed things but never got fixed herself. No. This time would be different. I don't know how long I lay there, trying to collect my thoughts, when the door to my room creaked open. Through my half-closed eyelids, I saw a shadow. It was my mother. She stepped into the room without looking directly at me. Her heels clicked sharply on the tiled floor, too loud for the quiet that surrounded me. She put down a cup of water on the bedside table. "How are you feeling?" she asked in that same neutral tone, as if checking a box on her mental list. But her eyes never met mine, and her gaze was fixed on the small screen of her phone. She didn't wait for an answer before she added, "I'll be at the store later for your sister's things. Don't forget." I wanted to scream at her, to tear her words apart, to make her see me. But the words stayed lodged in my throat. I closed my eyes again, swallowed the lump, and breathed in deeply, as if that would somehow erase the hollow space between us. I closed my eyes, and for the first time, I realized that I had never mattered to them. But something was changing inside me. The steady beep of the machines was the only sound in the room. The rhythmic pulse of my heartbeat echoed back at me from the monitor. I could feel my lungs straining, each breath a struggle. My body still felt heavy with the weight of the poison, the chemicals slowly leaving my system. But my mind was heavier. Every thought was sharp, jagged like shards of glass. I could feel the anger building up inside me, but it wasn't just anger. It was a mixture of betrayal, sorrow, and disbelief, all swirling into one. The truth was slowly unfolding in front of me, and I couldn't stop it. I kept replaying the phone call from my mother in my head. The way she spoke to me, as if nothing was wrong, as if I wasn't lying in a hospital bed after being poisoned by someone in the very family I had spent my entire life trying to please. "Don't forget your sister's birthday gift tomorrow," she'd said. The words still stung, as if they were a slap to my face. How could she be so cold? How could she treat me like this? I was fighting for my life, and she was worried about a damn birthday gift. Was this how it always was? Was I always just a footnote in their lives, the one who was supposed to just keep quiet and take whatever scraps they decided to throw my way? My throat tightened with the thought, and the anger surged again. A soft knock on the door broke my thoughts. I barely had time to react before the door creaked open. A nurse stepped in, her smile warm, but it didn't reach her eyes. "How are you feeling?" she asked, her voice gentle but clinical. "Fine," I rasped, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded and checked my vitals, all while pretending to ignore the elephant in the room. I couldn't stand the pity in her eyes. It made everything worse. She finished her work and left just as quietly, and I was left alone again, alone with my thoughts. Alone with the growing realization that everything in my life, every sacrifice, every moment I had spent trying to make them proud, was a waste. I wasn't loved. Not really. I had always been the one who held everything together, kept the peace, took the fall when things went wrong. My sister, Callista, she was the golden child. The one who could do no wrong. She was the one who got all the attention, all the affection. I had always known it, but now the truth stung in a way it never had before. I closed my eyes again, my mind racing through the years, through the memories of my childhood. The way my mother had always praised Callista. The way she always pushed me aside. It wasn't just a few moments here and there, it was a pattern, a constant in my life. I had always been second best. Or worse, invisible. I was the one who had to take care of everything while Callista got to be the baby of the family, the one who was always coddled and adored. I had never been able to make her see me, to make her understand how much it hurt. But I had never dared speak out, had I? I had let it go on for so long. My thoughts were interrupted by the faint buzz of my phone. I reached for it, my hands trembling slightly as I picked it up. It was from Avon. "Hey, just checking in. How are you holding up?" I stared at the message for a long moment, the words a small flicker of warmth in the cold reality around me. Avon. The one person who had always been there, who had never treated me like I was invisible. He was the one who had always seen me, truly seen me. I tapped out a reply. "I don't know anymore. I thought I was just angry, but now I know I've been fooled my whole life. I've been erased." Avon's response came almost immediately. "You haven't been erased, Arya. You've just been in the wrong place for too long. It's time to take back your life." His words hit me like a bucket of cold water. Take back my life. Could I do that? Could I really break free from this family, from the weight of their expectations, from the years of pretending? It felt impossible, but the idea was there, a small flicker of hope. I sat up in the bed, the pain in my body forgotten for a moment as I thought about what Avon had said. Maybe it was time. Time to stop letting them dictate my life, time to stop living for their approval. Maybe I was more than just the dutiful daughter, the one who always put others first. Maybe, just maybe, I could be someone else. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew one thing for sure, I was done being their silent victim. I was done being invisible. I thought about the things I could do, the ways I could make them understand. But I didn't want to just make them understand. I wanted them to feel the weight of what they had done. They had taken so much from me, and I was going to make sure they knew it. No more lies. No more pretending. I was going to get justice. I wasn't sure how long I had been lying there, eyes closed, feeling the dull ache of my body slowly returning to life, but my mind was still in chaos. The truth was spinning in circles, crashing against the walls of my thoughts. How could I have been so blind? How could I have missed the warning signs for so long? But now that it was here, the full force of the betrayal felt suffocating. Every muscle in my body wanted to shut down again, to hide from the reality that was closing in, but I couldn't. Not anymore. I wasn't just angry. I wasn't just sad. I was furious. And it wasn't just the poisoning, it wasn't just the fact that someone had literally tried to kill me, it was everything leading up to it. Every moment of my life that I had spent trying to make them proud, trying to fit in, trying to be someone I wasn't. And for what? For nothing. The door creaked open. I didn't look up at first. I couldn't. My head was pounding, my vision blurred with the weight of it all. Avon's voice broke through the fog in my mind. How are you holding up? His voice was steady, concerned but calm. I could feel him there, standing just inside the doorway, waiting. Waiting for me to answer. But I couldn't. I couldn't lie anymore, not even to him. The truth was too much. Better, I finally managed to whisper. But I didn't feel better. I didn't know how I felt anymore. I saw Avon step closer, his presence a steadying force. He was always the calm to my storm, the one who never judged, never turned away. His eyes met mine, and I saw the worry there, the love. He was the only one who truly saw me. You're going to make it through this, he said, sitting down beside me, his hand gently brushing mine. The warmth of his touch was a stark contrast to the cold numbness that had settled inside me. You've been through worse. Have I? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Have I really been through worse? Or was I just fooling myself? Avon didn't say anything at first. He didn't need to. I could see it in his eyes. He knew. He knew what I had been through, the years of hiding, the years of pretending everything was fine, pretending I was fine. But I wasn't fine. I was a victim of a system I couldn't control. You're not fooling yourself, Arya, he said finally. You were just trying to survive. You've done nothing wrong. You've always been strong, but you've never been alone in this. I'm here, and I always will be. I felt the familiar sting in my eyes, but I forced the tears back. I didn't want to cry anymore. I wasn't that person anymore. I had been that person, the one who let everything slide, who let people walk all over her. Not anymore. Not today. Thank you, I whispered, gripping his hand, finally allowing myself to feel something real. Thank you for being here. For not walking away. He smiled softly, squeezing my hand. You don't need to thank me, Arya. I've always been here. There was a long pause as I took a breath, steadying myself for what came next. The truth was out there now. There was no turning back. But I wasn't going to run from it anymore. I wasn't going to hide from the lies they had fed me for so long. It was time to confront them. I'm going to find out everything, I said, the word solidifying inside me like a declaration. And when I do, they'll have to face the consequences. Avon nodded, his eyes full of support. And I'll be right here. Every step of the way. I spent the next few hours in a haze, the steady beeping of the machines and the soft murmur of voices from the hall blending into the background. My thoughts swirled, but they weren't the same thoughts I had had when I first woke up. Now, there was a plan forming. A strategy. I had to do something. I had to get justice, for myself, for all the years of silence, for the betrayal that had cost me so much. As night fell, I managed to sit up in bed, my body still weak but my resolve stronger than ever. I reached for my phone, hands shaking slightly as I dialed the number that had been haunting me all day. The lawyer. When the line clicked, I didn't waste time. I spoke quickly, trying to get to the point before I lost my nerve. I need to move forward with the case, I said, my voice steady but firm. I want to hold them accountable for what they did to me. The lawyer on the other end of the line didn't hesitate. We can do that. We've gathered enough evidence, but it's going to be a long fight. I'm ready, I said, my voice unwavering. I've been fighting my whole life. This is just the final battle. The next day, I began my research. I found myself poring over articles, legal documents, and every scrap of information I could get my hands on. The poison that had been used on me wasn't just a random choice. It was a deliberate act. A message. It wasn't just about hurting me, it was about taking me out of the equation entirely, about making sure I couldn't fight back. I kept asking myself, how could they do this to me? And why? But every answer led me back to the same conclusion: this wasn't just about me. This was about money, about power, about control. It was about inheritance. I clenched my fists as I read through the details of the poison. It was commonly used in inheritance crimes. It was subtle, undetectable, and slow. Just like the way they had been treating me all these years, slowly, methodically, pushing me further and further into the background. But I wasn't going to let them win. The next call was to my mother. I was ready. The anger I had been holding onto for so long surged in my chest. I dialed the number with a sense of cold determination. This was it. There was no turning back. Aria. Her voice was a shock of indifference when she picked up. I had half expected her to sound concerned, but instead, she sounded like she was reading from a script. How are you feeling? Still resting. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. I'm not resting, Mom. I know what you did. There was a silence on the other end. A long pause, and I could almost hear her scrambling to find the right words. What are you talking about? She asked, her voice tight, as if she were trying to keep the conversation casual. I'm talking about the poison, I said, my voice cutting through the tension. The poison you gave me. The poison that you, and Callista, thought would get rid of me. You've both been trying to take me out of the equation for years. I heard her gasp, but there was no apology in her voice. You don't know what you're talking about, she said, her tone rising in anger. This is ridiculous. No, Mom, I said, the words heavy with all the years of hurt. It's not ridiculous. It's the truth. And now, I'm going to make sure you face it. I sat in the hospital bed, staring at the white walls. The soft hum of the machines around me had become my new reality. They were all I had in this sterile room, a cold reminder that I was still alive, but for what? I didn't know anymore. It had been a few days since I found out what had happened to me, since I realized my own flesh and blood had poisoned me, and now, I was supposed to do what? Stay silent. Let them pretend everything was fine. The anger inside me was growing, and I knew it was time to face them. I couldn't be the quiet one anymore. I couldn't let them walk all over me again. They needed to understand the damage they had done, and I was the only one who could make them hear it. I'd spent my whole life being invisible. The perfect daughter. The one who always fixed things. But for what? So they could take me for granted. So they could erase me when they were done with me. No. Not anymore. A knock at the door startled me. I hadn't even realized how long I'd been sitting there, lost in my thoughts. The door opened slightly, and Avon walked in. His calm presence made the air in the room feel a little less heavy, even if just for a moment. "How are you holding up?" he asked, his voice low and warm. "Better," I replied, but I wasn't. "Not really. I've been thinking." "About what?" "About everything," I said, meeting his eyes. "It's time to stop hiding. It's time to face them." Avon didn't respond right away. Instead, he sat down in the chair beside me, his eyes never leaving mine. I knew what he was thinking. He knew that this moment had been coming for a long time. "You're not alone in this, you know," he said after a pause. "I'll be with you through it all. Whatever happens next, you're not alone." I nodded, my heart swelling with gratitude. Avon was the one person I knew I could trust, the one person who had never turned his back on me. But this wasn't just about him. This was about me. I was done being the victim. I was done being the one who stayed silent while everyone else went on with their lives. "I'm going to call her," I said, my voice steady now. "I need to confront her." Avon gave me a long, measuring look, but he didn't argue. He knew that if I didn't do this now, I never would. And so, I picked up the phone. The dial tone rang in my ears as I waited. A heavy knot formed in my stomach, but I pushed it aside. I couldn't let fear stop me now. The phone rang 3 times before Isolde answered. "Aria." Her voice was cold, almost as if she had expected my call. "How are you feeling?" I gritted my teeth. "I'm fine." "How are you, Mom?" I let the sarcasm slip out before I could stop it. There was a moment of silence on the other end. "You don't sound fine." I wasn't fine. And I couldn't pretend anymore. "I'm not fine." "You poisoned me, Mom," I said, each word coming out sharper than the last. "And I'm done pretending like everything's okay." I could hear her breathing, steady but faint. "What are you talking about?" "I know what you did. The poisoning. You and Callista. You've been planning this for months, haven't you?" My pulse was racing. I could feel the adrenaline building in my veins, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't weak anymore. "Aria, calm down," Isolde said. This is all just a misunderstanding. You're just upset." "I didn't mean." "No, you didn't mean." I interrupted, my voice rising. "You didn't mean to poison me." "What was it then, Mom?" "A mistake." She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I could feel the guilt hanging in the air. She knew what she had done. But she wasn't going to admit it. She never would. "I've been your scapegoat for years," I continued, fighting back tears. "Always the one who kept the family together, always the one who fixed things. And for what? So you could just discard me?" Her silence was deafening. "You're still trying to cover it up," I said, my words like knives. "You still want to act like I don't matter. Like nothing I did for you ever counted. But I'm done. I'm not going to be your punching bag anymore." "I never," she started, but I cut her off again. Don't try to turn this around. You poisoned me, Mom. And I'm going to make sure you face the consequences." The call ended in a harsh silence. My heart was pounding in my chest, but there was a strange sense of relief. I had done it. I had confronted her. I had made her face the truth, even if she didn't want to hear it. But the job wasn't done. I had one more person to deal with. Callista. I called her next. Her phone picked up after the second ring. "Aria," she said, her voice flat. What now? I could feel my blood pressure rise at the sound of her voice, the way she always sounded like she had better things to do than talk to me. I know what you did, I said, my voice low and controlled. You and Mom. You poisoned me. There was a long pause before Callista spoke. Oh please, Arya. I don't have time for your drama. You're making things out to be worse than they are. No, I'm not, I snapped, fury rising in my chest. You don't get to do this anymore. You don't get to pretend like everything is fine. You've never cared about me, Callista. You've only ever cared about yourself. And I'm done letting you walk all over me. I don't have time for this, she said again, this time with a trace of impatience in her voice. You should be resting. Don't make things more complicated. I couldn't stop the laugh that escaped me, bitter and empty. Complicated? You think this is complicated? You're the one who poisoned me, and you're trying to act like I'm the problem. You don't care, Callista. You never have. I hung up the phone and collapsed back into the bed, my body drained but my mind on fire. I had done it. I had confronted them. The truth was out there now, and there was no going back. But something inside me shifted. It wasn't just about getting justice anymore. It wasn't just about fighting for my place. It was about taking back control of my life. I wasn't going to be their victim anymore. And I was going to make sure they never got the chance to hurt me again. I sat in the chair, staring out the window of my hospital room. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the city, and I couldn't help but think of how many times I'd watched that same sunset, feeling the same emptiness inside me. But this time, it felt different. The quiet hum of the machines, the distant city noises, it all felt like it was happening in slow motion. And in the midst of it, I realized something. I was done. I was done being silent, done being invisible. I had spent my life living in the shadows of my family, trying to be the daughter they wanted, the sister they needed. But it had cost me too much. And I wasn't going to do it anymore. For the first time, I wasn't just fighting for my life. I was fighting for my place in this world. And that meant I had to face the truth. I had to face them, the people who had poisoned me, who had manipulated me, who had discarded me when I no longer served their purpose. I picked up my phone, hands shaking only slightly as I dialed my mother's number. The number I had called 1,000 times before, but this time was different. This time, I wasn't calling for her approval or hoping for her affection. This time, I was calling for justice. The phone rang twice before she picked up, her voice cool and detached as always. Arya, she said, as if she didn't already know who it was. How are you feeling today? It was the same rehearsed, distant tone I'd heard from her for as long as I could remember. But today, I couldn't let it slide. I'm fine, Mom, I said, the words heavy in my mouth. But you're not. You're the one who poisoned me. There was silence on the other end of the line. The kind of silence that made my blood run cold, because I knew. I knew she was going to try to brush it off, to make it seem like nothing had happened. She wasn't going to face it, not unless I forced her to. She cleared her throat, almost too casually. Arya, this is a serious thing you're saying. I don't think you understand how much stress I've been under. This isn't something you should be making up. I clenched my fist around the phone, my nails digging into my palm. I'm not making this up, Mom. You did this. You and Callista. You've been lying to me for years. I know about the poisoning. I know you planned it, and now I'm going to make you face it. There was another pause, but this time, I could hear the faintest tremor in her voice. I don't know what you think you're going to accomplish by doing this, but you need to stop. You're hurting the family. This isn't the way to handle things. Stop. Stop. I could feel the heat rising in my chest. You've been hurting me for years. This is how it ends, Mom. I won't be your punching bag anymore. You've stolen my life from me, and now I'm taking it back. Her words came quicker now, almost panicked. You don't know what you're talking about. This is a mistake, a misunderstanding. It's not a mistake, I interrupted, my voice fierce. It's deliberate. You and Callista both know it. You can't hide from the truth anymore, and I'm not letting you get away with it. I hung up before she could say anything else. My heart was pounding in my chest, and my breath came in shallow bursts. I had done it. I had finally told her the truth. I had stood up to her. And though it felt like a weight had been lifted, I knew this wasn't over. It was just beginning. I sat back in the chair, trying to catch my breath, trying to calm my shaking hands. But the truth, the power of it, was still buzzing in my veins. It was exhilarating, but it was also terrifying. My mother hadn't reacted the way I thought she would. She didn't break down, didn't apologize. No, she tried to manipulate me again. But this time, I wouldn't let her. I wouldn't let them. I looked at my phone, still clutched tightly in my hand. Callista. She was next. I could already feel the anger building up inside me, the frustration of never having been heard by her, the bitterness of always being pushed aside for her. I dialed her number. It took a few rings before she picked up, and I could hear the casualness in her voice. Arya. What is it now? I didn't hesitate. You poisoned me too, Callista. Don't pretend like you didn't know. You and Mom have been trying to take me out of the picture for years. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end, but she quickly recovered. What are you talking about? I didn't poison you, and I don't know what's going on with you, but this is ridiculous. I leaned forward, pressing the phone harder to my ear. Don't lie to me. You and Mom have been plotting this, haven't you? You've been planning my downfall, and I'm done with it. I'm not the one who's crazy here, Callista. You and Mom have been destroying me for years. Her response was almost laughable. You really think I've been doing that? You're not well, Arya. You need help. We're just trying to get you back on track. I could feel my pulse quicken, my face burning with anger. You've never cared about me. You've always cared about yourself, about getting what you wanted. Well, not anymore. I'm not your punching bag, and I'm not your victim. And I'm not going to stay quiet anymore. The line went silent for a moment. I waited, but there was nothing. No apology. No remorse. Just indifference. It was the same old Callista, always pretending like she was perfect, always shifting the blame. Goodbye, Callista, I said, my voice firm. I won't be talking to you again. I ended the call and placed the phone down slowly. My hands were shaking, but there was no fear. Only a rising sense of power. I was done. This wasn't just about the poisoning anymore. It was about taking back control of my life. For the first time, I was standing up for myself. And nothing would stop me now. A few minutes later, I heard a soft knock on the door. It was Avon, and when I looked at him, I saw the understanding in his eyes. He didn't say anything at first, just sat down beside me and offered a quiet smile. Are you ready? He asked, his voice gentle but full of encouragement. I nodded. Yeah. I'm ready. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't alone. And I was going to make them all see me. It was time. The silence in the room was thick, the kind that presses down on your chest and makes it hard to breathe. My mind was racing, my body still recovering from the poison, but my thoughts were sharper than ever. I had been silent for too long. No more. I wasn't going to let them erase me any longer. The last few days had felt like a blur, moments of pain and confusion, followed by flashes of clarity. I could no longer ignore the truth. The betrayal, the lies, the manipulation. It was all so clear now. And it was time to confront them. I pushed myself up from the bed, the ache in my muscles serving as a reminder of how weak I'd been. But that was over now. I had to do this. For myself. For my future. A knock on the door pulled me out of my thoughts. It was Avon, as I knew it would be. He'd been there since the beginning, offering support without hesitation. Without him, I don't know how I would have made it this far. "Ready?" he asked, standing in the doorway, his eyes full of quiet encouragement. I nodded. "I have to be." Avon walked in, closing the door behind him. "We've been through a lot, but this is the moment. They're not going to get away with this. You've got this, Arya." I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me, but also something else, anger. Anger at what they had done to me. Anger at how they had manipulated me for so long, and now, how they were going to pretend none of it mattered. But it did matter. And they were going to hear it from me. "I'm not just fighting for my life anymore," I said, my voice low but firm. "I'm fighting for my place in this world. And I'll be damned if I let them take that from me." Avon gave me a reassuring smile. "Let's get to work, then." I made the call to my lawyer. Every step I took from here on out was about taking control, no more running, no more hiding. The lawyer, a woman who had been nothing but professional and empathetic, immediately got to work, outlining my options. "You're in a good position, Arya," she said on the phone, after reviewing everything. "We've got enough evidence to start making some serious moves. The poisoning, the financial manipulation, it all ties together. But it won't be easy. It'll take time." I exhaled sharply, rubbing my forehead. "I'm not afraid of a fight," I replied. "I'm just tired of being the victim. It's time I make them see me, really see me, for the first time." Later that day, I made the calls I had been dreading. The first call was to my mother. Isolde. She had to know that the truth was out now. There was no going back. "Arya," her voice was cool, almost too calm, as if she were preparing for this. "How are you feeling today?" "Still resting." I couldn't even pretend anymore. "I'm fine." "But you're not, are you, Mom?" I cut straight to it. "I know what you did." There was silence on the other end. A long, heavy silence that made my chest tighten. Then she spoke, but her words were dismissive, trying to brush it off. "Arya, don't make a scene. You're upset. This is just a misunderstanding, that's all." "A misunderstanding?" I repeated, a sharp laugh escaping my lips. "How convenient. You poisoned me, and now you want to call it a misunderstanding." Her tone faltered, but she recovered quickly. "I never meant for any of this to happen. You're just overreacting." I shook my head, my grip tightening on the phone. "Overreacting? No, Mom. You're the one who's been overreacting for years. You've been manipulating me, using me, and now you've gone too far. You need to stop this, Arya," she said, her voice low. "You don't know what you're doing. I'm your mother. I've always done what's best for this family." "That's the problem, Mom," I said, my voice cold. "You've always done what's best for you, and I've been the one who paid the price. Not anymore. You're going to answer for what you've done." I hung up the phone before she could respond. My pulse was racing, but this time, it wasn't from fear. It was from something else, something powerful. The next call was to Callista. My sister. The one who had always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. But now, the truth was out, and I wasn't going to let her off the hook. Arya, her voice was flat, as expected. What is it now? You know what you did, I said, cutting right to the heart of it. You poisoned me, Callista. You and Mom both. She let out a sigh, almost like she was bored. This is ridiculous, Arya. You're making things worse than they are. No, I'm not, I replied. You've been hiding behind lies for too long. You've never cared about me. You've always cared about yourself. And now, I'm done letting you get away with it. Stop it, she snapped. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't understand anything. Oh, I understand just fine, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I've been invisible to you for years, Callista. And now, you're going to see me. You're going to face what you've done. As I hung up, my body felt heavy, like the weight of the world had been lifted off my shoulders. But the fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. I took a deep breath, feeling my chest expand as I looked out the window. The sun was setting, the sky streaked with pink and orange. It was beautiful, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe again. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. And I was ready to fight for my future. Avon came by later, as promised. He sat beside me, giving me a knowing look. He didn't need to say anything, I could see it in his eyes. He was here for me. We were in this together. You've got this, Arya, he said, his voice steady. We'll make them pay for what they did. I nodded, feeling a new surge of strength. I'm done being their pawn, I said, more to myself than to him. This ends now. I woke up that morning with a fire in my chest. It was the kind of fire that made my pulse race and my hands shake with the force of it. The reality of what I was about to do settled in as I sat up in bed, the sunlight streaming through the window. I wasn't just going to let them walk away from this. I wasn't going to let them manipulate me anymore. Today, everything changes. I had spent years being the good daughter, the one who kept the peace, the one who never complained, the one who was always there when they needed me. But when I needed them, they weren't. They had poisoned me, and they had lied about it. They thought I would just let it go. They thought I would just forget. But I wasn't going to forget. Not anymore. I took a deep breath, pushing away the pain that still lingered from the poison. It was just a reminder of what I had been through. But now, it was time to face them. To make them face the truth. I had the evidence. I had the facts. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to back down. I picked up the phone and dialed the number I had been avoiding for days. My mother. Isolde. She had to face me now. I wasn't asking for her forgiveness, and I wasn't going to wait for her to come to me. I was done waiting. Done pretending like everything was fine when it never was. The phone rang 3 times before she answered. Her voice was as detached as ever. Arya, how are you feeling today? You should be resting. I'm fine, I said, trying to steady my voice. But you're not, are you, Mom? There was a brief pause. I could feel her shifting on the other end of the line. What are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about, I said, my voice firm now. You and Callista. You poisoned me. And now it's time you face the consequences. Arya, you're mistaken, she said quickly, her voice rising slightly. This is all just overblown. A mistake. You've been under a lot of stress. No, I said, my grip tightening around the phone. It wasn't a mistake. You planned this. You and Callista. You thought you could get away with it. She was silent for a long moment. I could feel her struggle, like she was trying to hold on to the lie. But I wasn't going to let her. You can't lie your way out of this, I said. I know the truth. And I'm not going to let you walk away from it. I hung up before she could respond. My heart was racing, but this time it wasn't out of fear. It was out of something else. Something I hadn't felt in years, power. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't scared of her, or of what would happen next. The truth was out there, and I wasn't going to hide from it. I took a deep breath and sent a message to Avon. He had been the only one who truly understood the weight of what I was doing. The one person who believed in me. I'm ready, I wrote. He responded almost instantly. You've got this, Arya. I'm with you every step of the way. His words grounded me, reminded me that I wasn't alone in this. He was here. And together, we were going to make sure they faced the consequences of what they had done. The next call was to Callista. My sister. The one who had always been my mother's favorite. The one who always got everything while I was left in the background. She was the one who had helped orchestrate this whole thing, and now she had to face me. Arya. Her voice was bored, disinterested. I knew exactly what she was thinking. She was probably wondering why I was wasting her time. You poisoned me too, Callista, I said, getting straight to the point. You and Mom. You thought I wouldn't find out. She scoffed. Are you seriously going to make a big deal out of this? You need to get over it. You're just being dramatic. I clenched my teeth. Dramatic? You've always used that word to dismiss me. But I'm done with it. I'm done being the one who's always ignored. I'm done being invisible. I don't have time for your nonsense, Arya, she said, the impatience in her voice clear. You're just making things worse. You don't know what you're talking about. I could feel my anger boiling over, but I kept my voice steady. No, Callista. I'm not the one making things worse. You are. You've been lying to everyone. You've been part of this. And you don't get to get away with it. She went silent for a moment, and when she spoke again, her voice was colder. You think I'm the one who's been lying. You've always been the problem, Arya. Always making everything difficult. Always the drama queen. I could feel the weight of her words, but I refused to let them break me. No, Callista. You've always been the problem. And I'm done with you. I hung up before she could say anything else. It was done. I had confronted them both. But the battle was far from over. It was just beginning. I could feel the weight of everything shifting inside me. The power I had been missing. The strength I had never known I had. I wasn't the same person anymore. I was done being their victim. I was taking back what was mine. And I would make them pay for everything they had done. Avon came by later that evening, like he promised. He was there, just like he said he would be. His support was unwavering, and it gave me the courage I needed. You're not alone in this, he said, sitting beside me. You don't have to face this by yourself. I know, I said, a small smile tugging at the corner of my lips. But I can do this. I'm not just fighting for my life anymore. I'm fighting for my future. We sat there in silence for a moment, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was a quiet, understanding kind of silence. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't alone. I had him by my side. And together, we were going to win. There was a stillness in the air that hung like a thick fog, and for the first time in a long time, it wasn't because I was afraid. It was because I had made it this far. This was it. The moment I had been working toward, the moment when everything I had suffered would finally come to light. The truth couldn't stay buried any longer. And no matter how much they tried to lie, it wouldn't work. Not this time. The weight of everything that had happened over the past few weeks pressed down on me, but it also gave me a strange sense of clarity. I could feel the anger still simmering beneath my skin, but it wasn't the kind of anger that made me want to lash out. It was the kind that made me strong. Made me feel like I could take on the world and win. I wasn't going to let them win this time. Not after everything they had done to me. I spent the morning reviewing everything. Every piece of evidence, every word that had been said to me, every document that could help me get the justice I deserved. My lawyer had been working tirelessly with me, going through the case, making sure everything was ready. But today wasn't just about the legal side of things. Today was about me standing up for myself. This is it, I muttered to myself as I stood in front of the mirror, taking one last look at my reflection. This is the moment. You've got this. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. It was Avon, standing there with his usual calm demeanor, but I could see the concern in his eyes. He didn't need to say anything, I knew what he was thinking. He was here for me, just like he had been since this all started. Ready? He asked softly, his voice steady and reassuring. I nodded, a feeling of resolve settling into my chest. I am. It's time to face them. The confrontation was set. The meeting had been arranged. I was going to see my mother, Isolde, and my sister, Callista, face to face. It was the final showdown. I wasn't going to ask for forgiveness. I wasn't going to beg them to feel guilty for what they had done. I was going to make them face the truth, and make them pay for everything they had taken from me. The place was set for a legal meeting, but this wasn't just about law anymore. This was about dignity. This was about the emotional damage they had done to me. And I wasn't going to let it slide anymore. I walked into the room, holding my head high. Isolde was sitting in the chair, her usual cold, detached expression in place. Callista stood next to her, looking like she had been told to keep quiet for once. The air between us was thick, full of unspoken words, and I could already see the discomfort in their faces. They knew this wasn't going to go their way. I hope you're both ready, I said, my voice steady, though my heart was pounding in my chest. Because today, you're going to face the consequences of your actions. Isolde looked at me, her eyes narrowing as if she were trying to process my words. Arya, what's all of this about? She asked, feigning confusion. You've been through a lot, and I understand that, but you're making this worse than it needs to be. No, Mom, I said, my voice hardening. You've been making everything worse for years. You poisoned me. You manipulated me. And you're trying to act like it's nothing. I won't let you get away with it anymore. Her face turned red with frustration. You're out of line. This is just a misunderstanding. We've been through a lot as a family, and you need to let it go. You don't get to dismiss me anymore, I shot back. You've been hiding behind lies your whole life. And now, the truth is out. I'm done being your scapegoat. The room was silent for a moment as Isolde's eyes flickered between Callista and me. It was clear that she wasn't going to admit to anything. She wasn't going to take responsibility. You need help, she finally said. I don't know why you're doing this. We're family. Don't you understand? You never understood, I snapped. You've never really seen me. All these years, I've been the one who kept everything together while you and Callista lived in your perfect little world. Callista, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. You need to stop this, Arya. You're making everything worse. You're ruining everything. This family, she trailed off, shaking her head as if this was all my fault. I couldn't believe it. There it was again, the same dismissal, the same indifference. I had spent my life trying to make her see me, to make her care. But she never would. You think I'm the one who's ruined everything? I asked, my voice trembling with anger. You and Mom have been doing this for years. Lying, manipulating, making me feel like I was nothing. Well, I'm not nothing. Not anymore. Callista's expression flickered, then quickly hardened again. You don't understand. You've always been the problem, Arya. Always overreacting. I felt my blood boiling. No, Callista, you've always been the problem. You've always hidden behind Mom's lies. You've always been the golden child, and you've never cared about anyone but yourself. She stared at me, eyes wide with surprise. Then, in an almost desperate tone, she said, I'm sorry, okay? I didn't know what else to do. I was scared. We were just trying to keep everything together. I don't care anymore, Callista, I said firmly. You're not my sister. You were never there for me. You were always too busy with your own life, always putting yourself first. The air in the room felt heavy with the silence that followed. They had been exposed, and there was no going back now. I looked at them both, Isolde, who still refused to see the truth, and Callista, who, in her desperation, had shown me exactly who she was. There was no more pretending. No more games. I've given you both enough chances, I said, my voice cold but steady. If you don't come clean, I'll make sure you face the consequences. You think you can keep playing these games with me? Not anymore. This ends today. The words were out, and the finality of them settled over me like a weight. I wasn't just done with them. I was done with the lies. I was done with the manipulation. And I wasn't going to be their victim anymore. I stood at the edge of the sidewalk, the early morning air crisp against my skin. The city around me buzzed with its usual rhythm, people rushing to work, cars honking, distant chatter. But in that moment, none of it seemed to matter. It was all background noise. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was in control. The past, the pain, the family that had caused so much hurt, none of it had a hold on me anymore. I had fought for my future. And now, it was mine. For so many years, I had let the weight of their expectations, their lies, and their manipulations dictate who I was. But today, as I stood there, with nothing but the clear sky above me and a new chapter in front of me, I felt free. The anger, the frustration, it was all behind me now. What mattered was the present, and what I was going to do with the life I had left. Avon had been with me through all of it. He had been the one person I could rely on, the one person who never judged, who never looked down on me. We had spent countless hours talking about my next steps, strategizing, and slowly putting the pieces of my life back together. You've come a long way, Arya, Avon had said, his voice soft but full of pride. I know it hasn't been easy. But look at you now. Look at how far you've come. I had looked at him, the weight of everything that had happened settling deep inside me. I knew he was right. I had done it. I had taken back control. But the road was far from over. I wasn't just healing physically from the poisoning. I was healing emotionally, too. After the trial, after the confrontation with my family, I finally felt like I could breathe. The verdict had come in. Justice had been served. My mother, Isolde, and Callista would face the consequences of their actions. The court had ruled in my favor, and the weight of their lies had been lifted from my shoulders. But it wasn't just about the legal victory. It was about my dignity. It was about reclaiming the person I had buried under years of manipulation and abuse. It was about standing tall in the face of everything that had been thrown at me. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their love. I had learned that the hard way. But I had something far more valuable, my freedom. My self-respect. My life. It was time to move forward. I had been offered a new job in a new city, a fresh start. The job wasn't just an escape. It was a chance for me to build the life I had always wanted. No more hiding behind the shadow of my family. No more living in a constant state of fear, wondering when the next betrayal would come. I was going to live on my own terms, and for the first time in years, I felt hopeful. I looked out over the city one last time before I turned and walked away from it. There was so much more waiting for me, and I was ready to face it. I wasn't running from my past anymore. I was moving forward. Later that evening, as I unpacked in my new apartment, I felt a sense of peace that had eluded me for so long. The place was small, but it was mine. The walls were bare, but I didn't mind. This space was a blank canvas, and I was going to fill it with my own memories, my own experiences. The phone rang, breaking my thoughts. It was Avin. "How's it going?" he asked, his voice warm. "It's going," I replied, a smile tugging at my lips. "It feels good to finally be in control. To finally be living for myself." "That's what I like to hear," he said. "You've earned it, Arya. You've fought for it." I leaned against the counter, looking out the window at the lights of the city. I'm not the same person I was before. I'm stronger. And I'm not letting anything or anyone stop me from living the life I deserve. Avin's voice softened. "You've got everything you need now, your freedom, your dignity, and your future." "I do," I said. "And I'm not going to let anyone take that away from me. Not ever again." The next few months flew by. I settled into my new job, made new friends, and started to rebuild my life piece by piece. The past never truly left me. It was always there, a part of who I was. But it didn't control me anymore. I was no longer the girl who had been silenced, the girl who had let her family define her. I was Arya. And I was finally free. One evening, as I sat on my couch, sipping a glass of wine and listening to music, I thought back on everything that had happened. The betrayal, the lies, the pain, they were all part of my story, but they didn't define me anymore. I had learned to stand up for myself, to fight for what I deserved, and to move forward. And in that moment, I realized something important. I wasn't just a survivor. I was a warrior. The phone rang again. This time, it was a call from the lawyer. The case was over, and the settlement was final. The family had paid the price for their actions. But what mattered most was that I had taken back my life. Sometimes, the hardest battles aren't the ones we fight in court or with others, they're the ones we fight within ourselves. Arya's journey is a reminder that it's never too late to reclaim your voice, stand up for yourself, and choose your own path. Never let anyone define you or erase your worth. Have you ever felt like you were overlooked or betrayed by those closest to you? How did you overcome it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this one.